Welcome back, everybody, to Nintendo Switchcraft. This is episode 623. On today's episode, we're going to be talking a whole bunch about Pokemon. Project Triangle Strategy has a demo out that we can finally try. Speaking of that, Bravely Default 2 is now out, and as is Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection. Those stories, possibly more, on this episode of Nintendo Switchcraft. All right, let's start everything off with the recent announcements that came from the 25th anniversary of Pokemon. They are bringing back Diamond and Pearl, which were the Pokemon games that were on the original Nintendo DS, and they're bringing them back as Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Basically, according to the Pokemon Company, it's essentially a one-to-one recreation, just with updated visuals and now focused on one screen instead of two screens. I kind of have lost my interest in the Pokemon games. They always tend to be the same. The story is not really all that interesting to me. Mostly, I just want to go around and collect stuff, and I know that for most people, that's really like the fighting is really where it's at, but I find the fighting to be actually a little dull as well. I like just collecting stuff, and so I think I'm going to pass on this, just like I passed on the Sword and Shield versions. I mean, Pokemon seems to just keep going back to the well over and over. Here, let's re-release this. Let's re-release that. We've got some new Pokemon to bring out, so we'll bring a new Pokemon game, and they just kind of print money. And I don't want to say that it's low effort, but to me, it's almost Madden-like, or FIFA-like, where it's just the same game over and over again with slight tweaks here and there. Yes, they do add new Pokemon from time to time, which I think a lot of people get excited about, but to me, it's just skins, honestly. So I'm not excited about Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Let's move on and talk about, they announced a new Pokemon game that's coming out in 2022. This one is called Legends Arceus, and this one's really weird. This is not the same Pokemon game that you're used to. I will say that I watched the footage, and good God, the frame rate was terrible. Now, the Pokemon Company never really puts the effort, in my opinion, they don't put the effort into making the frame rate look good, but most of the time it's like 30 frames per second, and it's fine. Legends Arceus, and hopefully I'm saying that right, I mean, it looked like 10 frames per second. Of course, the game isn't coming out until 2022. What we're looking at is super early footage, so I'm sure it'll get better as time goes on. But even somebody like myself, who tends to gloss over frame rate hiccups, that was really jarring to see it. This is very different than other Pokemon games, and this one I'm much more interested in. We'll see how this progresses between now and 2022. That's a long way away. Here's what they have to say about it. As trainers explore the natural expanses of Pokemon Legends Arceus, they'll encounter Pokemon that call these grand vistas home. To catch wild Pokemon, players can study the Pokemon's behavior, sneak up on them, then throw Poké Balls. Players can also battle wild Pokemon with their allied Pokemon by throwing a Pokeball holding their allied Pokemon near the wild Pokemon. It's too many Pokemons in that sentence. Players will seamlessly enter battle. This new gameplay angle is intended to provide trainers with an immersive experience. So, as I was watching the footage, what it seemed like, I mean, they didn't show any turn-based stuff, and Pokemon has always been a turn-based game. I take my turn, the Pokemon take their turn, my stuff is effective, this is super effective, that kind of thing. I'm not seeing any of that in this. In fact, they showed some footage. The trainer is hiding in some tall grass. They see some Pokemon off in the distance. They throw a Pokeball at it, and then it just captures. There is no battle with it at all. I'm not sure what the gameplay what the combat mechanics are going to be like in this game, but it's wildly different than other Pokemon games. And to me, that's interesting. I know it seems like I'm crapping all over Pokemon right now. Look, I understand that they are objectively extremely popular games. I just have they've lost their sheen to me. But Arceus seems interesting, and I'm definitely going to be watching that. Another Pokemon that kind of bucks the normal traditions is the Pokemon Snap game. Originally, it came out on the N64, and now we finally have new Pokemon Snap. That game is coming out on April 30th. Basically, it's like you're going through the world and you want to take photographs of the Pokemon, and then your photographs, they get scored based on a couple of things, like the subject of the photograph, like what pose is it in, how large do they appear, and how well did you get them facing the camera, where are they in the frame. So each photo gets between 1 and 4 stars, indicating how common or rare the behavior displayed is. This seems like the kind of game where you can play it over and over and over again, and you get better and better at it, or it's a slightly different experience each time. I feel like this is the kind of game that is going to have a lot of replay value. I'm not sure if it's for me, but it's definitely going to be very, very popular. Pokemon Snap is one of those games that tons of people look back on as really, really awesome, even though I skipped out on it, when it came out, because I was never into Pokemon back in the day. But a lot of people swear by Pokemon Snap, and new Snap is going to, I'm sorry, forgive the pun, but it gets snapped up by a whole bunch of people as soon as it comes out on April 30th. I was expecting that they would mention something about Labo VR being integrated. This is the perfect kind of game to integrate with Labo VR. If you're not familiar with that, Labo VR is this weird way that Nintendo was able to sell people a box of cardboard. And so then you fold and cut the cardboard into a shape. You put your Nintendo Switch in there, and now you have a little VR headset. Of course, the Nintendo Switch has a 720p screen, so the VR doesn't really look all that great, but it's still pretty cool. And this seems like the perfect kind of game to go with Labo VR. In fact, they have one of the boxes that you can buy contains a camera that you can make. You fold everything, and now suddenly you have a camera with your Nintendo Switch, which is really cool. I'm honestly surprised that they haven't mentioned this already, because it would spur more sales of Labo. Not like Nintendo has all of that stuff just sitting on shelves. Labo sold pretty well. But anyway, April 30th for new Pokemon Snap. All right, let's move on to Project Triangle Strategy. They have their first demo. I want to applaud Square Enix for the way that they've been doing their demos lately. I think it's really fantastic. They put out a demo of their game. They get feedback from the players. They make changes based on that feedback. They put out another demo. They get feedback. They rinse and repeat until they actually release the game. They did this with Project Octopath Traveler, which Triangle Strategy is part of that universe. They did this with Bravely Default 2, and I'm glad to see that they are continuing to do this new demo system with Triangle Strategy. So I downloaded the demo for Project Triangle Strategy, and the gameplay, the combat itself, is really good. I love how you get bonus damage by taking elevation into account, or your positioning. I like how at the end of your turn it tells you, hey, face your character the right way. I like at the bottom of the screen it shows all of the characters who are going to be going between now and like the end of the round. All of that stuff is fantastic. But man, look, I don't know. Maybe my tastes of games have changed. maybe JRPGs are becoming less interesting to me. But like many JRPGs, this game contains a ridiculous amount of dialogue, like a lot of talking. And like I didn't want to get spoiled on the story because, they tell you right at the very beginning that when you start playing this snapshot of the game takes place kind of in the middle of the game, so you're probably not really going to understand what's happening. It's just to show you what the game is like. They did increase the difficulty so that you can see how hard the game can really get, which I thought was kind of interesting. I would have liked to see, a way to play the demo with the difficulty at normal and then ramp up the difficulty with a setting so that I could try it out in that way. But, if you hold down the R button, which I found out by accident, if you hold down the R button on your controller, everything will go really, really fast. And of course, you can hit the start button to skip like cutscenes, but then there's dialogue cutscenes that you can't really skip with the start button. You just hold down the R button and it speeds through it incredibly quickly. I skipped every cutscene and I held down the R button when appropriate, and it still took me 5 minutes to get to the actual combat of the demo. And it's just way too long. And okay, so I understand that, all of the dialogue stuff and all of the cutscene stuff is probably incredibly important, and it's probably why most people are there. And I'm not saying don't put that stuff in, but man, that's a lot of just sitting there and, reading dialogue between a couple of characters. I'm not going to say that that's a bad thing, but to me, I feel like maybe my tastes are just changing and I'm less interested in super talky games. I want to get right into the action a lot of times. But hey, you know what? If you're a big fan of JRPGs, then I bet that not all of that stuff sounds perfectly fine to you. In which case, you definitely should check out Project Triangle Strategy because that's very typical JRPG. So if you're a fan of those, then that's up your alley. But B, the combat system is really fantastic, and I'm very interested to see where else that they can go with it. We were having a conversation in our community Discord. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, there is a link in the description down below. And people were talking about how they went through the same fight multiple times, and like one time they focused on like having character X as their main character, but then another time they went in, they brought somebody else who had the ability to cast blind, and they were like blinding everybody and making it really hard for others to attack them. Again, this seems like another game that's going to have a lot of replayability factor. Makes it even more important for you to be able to skip cutscenes and stuff. I actually do say well done, Square Enix, on giving me the ability to skip cutscenes or hold down the R button to speed through stuff. Because if you don't care about that stuff, then you just want to speed through to the next fight. That's really important. Real quick before we move on, if you don't know what Project Triangle Strategy is, it is a isometric strategy tactics game in the same, hopefully I'm using this word correctly, milieu of Final Fantasy Tactics or Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, but it takes place in the Project Octopath Traveler universe. So I'm very interested to see more of this, but I'm not sure if it's something that I will end up picking up. I'll play more of the demo, but I'm not sure if I'm going to end up picking up the game. Not because the game itself isn't good, but just I feel like it's less interesting to me, the chatty Cathy-ness of it. All right, speaking of chatty Cathy-ness, Bravely Default 2 is out. You can now pick it up. Our community Discord has been talking about it. They've been saying very good things about it. I played the demo. I thought the demo was fantastic. Of course, JRPG from Square Enix. Lots and lots of dialogue. The voice acting is superb, and I really like the game. I haven't picked this up yet because I'm still kind of knee deep in playing Bowser's Fury and Super Mario 3D World, which of course, that's one of those games where you hit the button, you get right into gameplay, and so I'm having a lot of fun with that. I've also, not on the Nintendo Switch, but I've been playing tons of Valheim on the PC on Steam. That game is really, really good, and I hope that it comes to consoles at some point because it's fantastic, and I think that a lot of people who don't play games on PC are missing out on probably, I'm going to say one of the, I know it's February as I record this, but probably one of the best games of the year. And I'm going to say definitely one of the best games that I've played in years. It's not often that games like grab a hold of me and they're like, okay, the other games that you have don't exist anymore. You're going to play this one. World of Warcraft did that. Minecraft did that. Valheim is doing that. It's just so good. So, and Breath of the Wild did that. I don't know. It's a Minecraft like game. Anyway, I'm moving on because it's not on the Nintendo Switch, but that's what I've been playing a lot of lately. Okay, so Bravely Default 2 is out. Speaking of games that are recently out, Ghosts in Goblins Resurrection is now out. I almost bought it. It's 30. Is it 30 or 40? I think it's $40. I think it's $39 on the eShop. If I'm wrong about that, I will post it in the video that I'm wrong. And if I am wrong about this on the podcast, then sorry. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is also out. I really wish that there were a demo for this game. I'm not a huge fan of the art style, but I like it. Every time I watch it, the gameplay looks really, really fantastic. It looks like one of those games where you just hop right into the fray and start throwing stuff at zombies and stuff. Ghosts and Goblins, I loved playing that on my NES back in the day. I never played Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Super Nintendo, but I heard good things about it. Obviously, not as good as the original, I'm sure. But Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, it kind of got away from the 8-bit sprites, and they went more with a hand-drawn art style, which most of the time I have no problem with. It's just something about it feels a little off to me. That being said, the game looks really, really fun, and I want to try it out, but I don't know that I want to jump in there for the full price. This is a game, look, Capcom, if you believe that your game is awesome, then do yourself a favor and put out a demo and let people try it out. Because the more people that try it out, if it's a good game, then they'll end up buying it. So Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection is now out, and I think that it would do well to have a demo. The last thing that I want to mention on this episode of Switchcraft is that on March 4th at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, that's really early, they're doing a Pyra and Mithra Smash update. So if you didn't watch the Nintendo Direct, then you're probably unaware that in coming to Smash is Pyra / Mithra. They are two characters combined into one character. These are the main sword. I'm sorry, the main. So it's the drivers and the. Well, now I can't remember what they're called. I think Blade. There we go. They're the main Blade characters from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 on the Nintendo Switch. Fantastic game. Great JRPG, by the way, with an amazing combat system. And in that game, Pyra and Mithra are kind of like the same character. And that's what they're doing when they bring Pyra over to Smash. They're bringing the other half of the coin as well. And that was announced, but we really don't know how they play. And every time that they bring a new character to Smash Ultimate, one of the things that they do is they always have a longer form video that explains this is how the character plays and how we were able to get like the essence of a character in some other game and bring that essence into Smash and have it work with the systems that are already in there with the, like, what is it, like 87 characters at this point? It's crazy how many characters are in Smash. But Mr. Sakurai, I assume Mr. Sakurai is going to be doing this. He tends to do these. Mr. Sakurai will be demonstrating Pyra / Mithra, how you can play as those characters on March 4th at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. You can convert to your time zone wherever you live. Super early, but that's probably because he lives in Japan and it's not super early for him. You know, the earth is round, despite what you might have heard from weirdos on the internet. Anyway, that's it from this weirdo on the internet. If you have any thoughts about the Nintendo Direct that we haven't talked about yet, or thoughts about Pokemon or Triangle Strategy or Bravely Default 2 or Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you're listening to the podcast, you want to check out the video version of the podcast, you can easily do that by heading on over to nerdnest.tv. And if you're watching this on YouTube and you decide, I want to check out the podcast version, just the audio version that I can listen to while I'm working out or something, that's super easy too. Just go on your favorite podcasting device and search for Nintendo Switchcraft, and sure enough, it will be there. Thanks for watching and listening. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.